All right, so listen, Jeff and I had time this week, and we said, well, since, it's like another week of class, why don't we it's finals week, why don't we just do a couple streams during our regular class time? So here we are. We'll be back on Thursday. And then I had the idea that, hey, I found this article from the New York Times that I can't really use in class. It just doesn't fit in class. But I thought, you know what? I didn't read it. I just saved it, and I said, let me actually read this on the stream live. Like, I'll read through the whole article. It's not too long, and I'll walk people through how I think about things. Like, when I'm reading something like this, what am I thinking and how am I imagining it? And how do I assess whether it's true or not, or the veracity, or whether the writer had an axe to grind or a bone to pick or something like that, or whether the writer was actually trying to be a fair journalist, relatively fair, right? Because I'm assuming the topic. Well, I don't know. It's interesting. So anyway, I thought, okay, this will be cool. I'll walk through, like, but in the meantime, I do want to say that had a very cool semester, a very successful semester. Jeff and Darnisha and the stream team really rocked it. We did a lot of really cool things. I'm hearing from a lot of folks from around the world, actually, about different classes that we did, and people really appreciating it, and have not received any hate, although I have received, a few emails, telling me that kind of things they think I maybe glossed over a little bit. And in those, in each case, it wasn't something that I did deliberately. It was more just like they thought I should get into an issue in a little bit more complicated way than I appreciate doing in the classroom, because students can't follow the issues very well. And I mean, it's not the place. It's more a thing for office hours. So what Jeff and I are thinking is we really need to do more of those kinds of emails during office hours. Maybe we do office hours a couple times a week, and one is responding to stuff like that. But in any case, that's not what we're going to do today. So today, first off, I was scrolling through Reddit. I scroll through Reddit. I don't know why I scroll through Reddit, but I do. It kind of taps me into a little bit about, well, it's the front page of the internet, so to speak, right? But I don't know. It taps me into a few things. But in any case, I saw this thing on Reddit, and Jeff, put that first Reddit thing up, right? So this popped up, right? And it's very funny, actually. I mean, the look. I don't. Who knows if that's a translator? But the fact that is, I kind of laughed, and then I thought, I looked and said, well, it's been uploaded or downloaded one or the other over 2,000 times, and a lot of comments. And I didn't look at any of the comments. Well, I did, actually. I looked at the comments, and the comments are exactly what you would expect, because Reddit leans to the left for sure, and people are just having fun with Trump, right? And I have to say, Trump says a lot of really nutty things, and he speaks off the cuff. And he's always talking, he's always saying something. And I know that if I just keep flapping my lips on and on and on, eventually I'm going to say some things that are really silly or outlandish or whatever. But he tends to lean toward the outlandish more so, the grandiose, whatever. So I don't know. I see something like that, and I'm like, oh. But then I thought, hang on a minute, man. Even Trump's not going to. Well, he didn't say that. Like, I could see him making a faux pas that he said something that sounded like he was saying that, but he didn't say that, right? So then I go to Snopes. And if you don't know Snopes, you should pay attention to it, Snopes.com. And I looked it up. I said, okay, did Trump say that? Right. So Jeff will pop Snopes up. Did Trump say Italy and the US have been allies for thousands of years? Right. And so fact check, Snopes is really good. Right. So you scroll down and it's like, okay, false. All right. Makes sense. Right. False. And in fact, it was 2019. It's not like it's a recent thing. And then so if you scroll down a little more, what he says is Trump said that the United States and Italy are bound together by a shared cultural and political heritage dating back thousands of years to ancient Rome. Of course, somebody wrote. Now, when I read that, I know, like, okay, somebody wrote that for him. So clearly, it was not intended. There's no way to say that he said that, or whatever it is that they said he said. And I thought, this is just troubling, right? To me, the right wing does it, the left wing does it. Again, the right wing has done it to me. Just take words and say that I said them and put them out there. The left wing has done it to me. Just take words and say that they're my words and put it out there. And for Trump, it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. He's made of Teflon. Nothing seems to stick to him at all. But for me, it matters, man. And then you could just get AI, get some bots and just come up with endless streams of stuff that they can say. So anyway. It's just it's just a word of caution, be really, really careful.
I look forward to that very much. The United States and Italy are bound together by a shared cultural and political heritage dating back thousands of years to ancient Rome. Over the centuries, the Italian people.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you said. Someone wrote it for him. I mean, he's reading a script right now.
Yeah. Thousands of years is pushing it a little bit, by the way. But nonetheless, it's fine. It's fine. I wouldn't say thousands of years. That's this kind of shared cultural heritage. But nonetheless, it's fine. It's great. It's a great speech. It's all good. So in any case, it's troubling because Grandpa's place, I will say, it ticks me off too, because it just really divides us and it keeps us pointing fingers, and it makes us all a lot dumber. And that's just not really a good thing. And I don't know where we're going to go from here, man, honestly, because I don't know if we can get much dumber. It's just a bad idea. Okay, but anyway, listen. So I want to come back. So I found this article in the New York Times. Now, I know that those of you who have this, really ascribe to the idea that we have fake news, which, Lori and I were doing a podcast yesterday, and Lori was saying like how really interesting it is. And in some ways, there's some value to it that Trump introduced that term to the world, fake news, right? But of course, he's sort of a progenitor. Is that a word? It creates a lot of fake news, but it's something for us to think about because we have the bots now. I mean, everything, there's so much fake news, right? From all angles. But in any case, people have the idea that New York Times is fake news, and I'm gonna have to disagree with something, right? I have many students in my class who study journalism. Many who write for various publications. They're rookies. They're really working hard. They get lots of classes on the ethics of journalism and try how to do it right. And their professors are really good, and they're really good at teaching, trying to instill in them how to be a really good journalist. And their professors are all people who have been journalists, and they're very thoughtful. I know some of these folks are my friends, and they're very thoughtful, right? And I have had the privilege, or whatever you want to call it, of getting to know and meeting lots of journalists from all over the world. and journalists at really some of what are considered to be the top ranking publications, okay? Both television and print. And I will say that without exception, everybody who rises that I have met, who has risen to the level of these sort of top print publications and the top TV publications and so on, have been really very, very thoughtful people and trying to get stories right. They're, even I've known a couple of people at Fox who are, it's just not like these, Fox is clearly has a very strong agenda. And I know a couple of people at MSNBC, and they have a very strong agenda to the left, Fox to the right. But there's a lot of folks who are writing, part of both those organizations, mostly trying to get it right. But the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, and in Spain, El País, in France, Le Monde, and you have, in Germany and all over, right? These top publications, the people I've met are really trying to get the stories right. They might tend to pick from the stories on one side or the other. But when they pick the story, they try to get it right. Okay. So my students read for their exams, they watch videos and they read print articles. And maybe, for this third exam, I think there were about 16 either shorter videos or print articles or so on. And I picked from all over the place, right? But I tend to pick a lot from the New York Times because they get a free subscription to the Times. And I don't just pick stuff that's liberal or conservative. I mostly am picking stuff that's just kind of interesting, sociologically speaking, right? So in any case, the point being, I do read the Times a lot. I also read through the lines, and I don't read the opinion pages. The opinion editor for the past 8 years or so, the editors had just been too far to the left, and just really they annoy the heck out of me. I almost never read the opinion pages, but I do read articles, right? So anyway, I found this article, and Jeff, you can put the front page of it up, and what I thought I would do is, I read the headline. And I said, whoa, okay, wait, what's this? And I thought, all right, so, let me read this. And then I thought, wait, hang on a second. What if we actually read it on the stream during office hours or class or whatever, and walk people through what my thinking is and how I think about it? Because I have not read this at all. So I read it, and so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to read this thing, and we're going to see, I'm just going to, invite you into my brain and see how I imagine it. Okay. So, Tiffany Trump. So Tiffany, I think is Donald Trump's youngest daughter. I think it's her mother just died recently, right? I think, I'm not sure. But in any case, I don't follow people's personal lives, right? But so here's this man, okay? Is that so the lore, right? So the story around him is that he's this billionaire deal maker, right? Okay, records show otherwise. All right. So now, why is the New York Times picking this out? Well, this is potentially a really serious issue, man. This guy is, Trump is bringing him into an important position. So this could be a really serious, who is this guy, right? We want to know. And so here we go. All right. So Jeff, you can just kind of start scrolling. I have to make my screen a little larger. All right. So I can't do, I'm not going to do word for word, right? If you're watching, well, I guess I have to, because some of you may not be watching. President-elect Trump's incoming Middle East advisor, okay, Boulos, I assume that's how you pronounce it, has enjoyed a reputation as a billionaire mogul at the helm of business that bears his family name. Mr. Boulos has been profiled as a tycoon by the world's media, telling a reporter in October that his company is worth billions. Mr. Trump called him a highly respected leader in the business world with an extensive experience on the international scene. Okay? President-elect even lavished what may be his highest praise, a deal maker. Okay, so do you see like what they're quoting here is they're setting this thing up already, right? Because they use in the opening tagline, they use the word lore. So that's an indication that it's not necessarily true. Or the author's going to try to make that point. In fact, records. So I'm already, so this is me, right? I'm already leaning toward, okay, so this guy's not a deal maker. He's not a billionaire. And at some level, he's a charlatan. Okay, it's already set me up to think that. So now I have to rewind. And this is what I do when I'm reading stuff like this. I got to rewind and say, wait, hang on. The writer is leading. He's opening that door for me already. So I got to back up and just look at the facts on this, which of course I'm going to get. This isn't one side of facts. There's not going to be a completely different story. So if you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is just going to be one side. It's not going to be one side. It's going to be a certain percentage of what this is, but there's always going to be a few other things. But this isn't going to be only one side, right? It's going to be somewhere in the middle, leaning left. Okay. In fact, records show that Mr. Boulos has spent the past 2 decades selling trucks and heavy machinery in Nigeria for a company his father-in-law controls. So controls, right? It doesn't say he owns. He's the chief executive of the company SCOA Nigeria PLC, so which made a profit of less than $66,000 US last year, corporate filings show. Okay, now I go like, oh, all right, wait, whoa, what? What? Okay, hang on. So there's no indication in corporate documents that Mr. Boulos, a Lebanese American whose son is married to Mr. Trump's daughter, Tiffany, is a man of significant wealth as a result of his businesses. The truck dealership is valued at about short of $1 million at its current share price. Mr. Boulos' stake, according to securities filings, is worth $1.53. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So now I'm going to keep reading, right? Well, obviously I'm going to keep reading here, but if I were just reading this on my own, I'd be skimming it right now. I just want to get to the tagline, right? As for Boulos Enterprises, the company that has been called his family business in the Financial Times and elsewhere, a company officer said that it is owned by an unrelated Boulos family. Like, I don't even know what that means, right? Mr. Boulos will advise on one of the world's most complicated and conflict-racked regions, a region that he said this week that he has not visited in years. The advisory position does not require Senate approval. Okay, it also doesn't require, before you scroll down, Jeff, it also doesn't mean that it's an official position. If it doesn't require Senate approval, it's not an official position. So if we have a problem with this, so if he doesn't have anything worthwhile to say, clearly Trump isn't going to listen. So it doesn't really matter. In a way, you could argue that it's sort of, he's throwing a bone to his daughter's father-in-law, which is like, okay, that's cool, whatever. It's not really it doesn't strike me as particularly problematic. Okay, we have a lot of advisors. Trump has a ton of advisors, right, that have zero credentials about anything. So like, all right, whatever. So maybe in a way, now I'm starting to think, all right, I get this. I see where this is going. Now, what are you picking a fight here for? Since the guy isn't going to have any serious power because it doesn't require Senate approval. Okay, but go ahead. Okay, wait, is that trucks and heavy machine? Okay, there's the dealership he runs in Lagos on Wednesday. Okay, but of course I gotta say, if the guy himself, if he's calling himself a billionaire or Trump is calling him a billionaire, I just have a problem with that because that's just lying. That's such misrepresentation and lying. Like, oh my God, that to me is a problem. But Trump politicians misrepresent themselves all the time, and Trump is certainly known to do that. Let me just say, right? Okay, let's go. The confusion over Ms. Boulos' background and his failure for years to clear up misunderstandings until questioned this week by the Times raises questions about how thoroughly Mr. Trump's team vetted his nominees. Well, it's not a nominee. Okay, hang on. So this guy's not a nominee. Trump just appointed him. But it makes us wonder about the other nominees that are in more serious position, right? The team was caught by surprise by allegations of sexual misconduct against Pete Hegseth. I never heard anyone pronounce his name, so I'm assuming I did it correctly. Pickford Defense Secretary, a spokesman for the Trump transition team, declined to comment. Of course, Mr. Boulos, a Christian from northern Lebanon who emigrated to Texas as a teenager, has risen in prominence since 2018 when his son Michael began dating Tiffany Trump. Okay, all right, let's go. Whoa, there's a big hawk flying around outside my window looking for dinner. A big red tail. Okay, this year, Mossad Boulos helped Mr. Trump woo Arab American voter. 66,000 is, oh, yeah, okay. So he's a millionaire, really. He's worth 100 million. Okay. This year, okay, so he wooed Arab American voters, and in the fall served as a go-between for Mr. Trump and the Palestinian Authority leader, Mahmoud Abbas. Okay. All right. That's in October. So he's, inserting himself at some level. In October, the Times asked him about his wealth and business dealings. Quote, your company is described as a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, a reporter asked. Are you yourself a billionaire? Mr. Boulos said he did not like to describe himself that way, but that journalists had picked up on the label. That's a beautiful response, man. I got to remember that, right? If someone ever asked me, are you the most important sociologist in the world? I'd be like, well, I don't like to say that. I would never say that, but some people say it. I'm like, okay, I picked up on the label. It's accurate to describe the company as a it's accurate to describe the company as a multi-billion-dollar. They followed up. Yeah, he said it's a big company, long history. Okay, but it's not your company, right? Okay, let's go. See, this is right here where he would come back and be clear about things, but he's obfuscating, right? So that to me is a huge problem, and he should be called out for that. Like, come on, man, wait, what are you really saying that? Like, you know what I'm asking, and your company or your family's company or whose company, right? So that's really a bit of a problem for me. I don't like. If he lies, if he's creating a smokescreen by accident, then that's okay. But if you're creating it willfully, right, and you know what you're doing, then okay, that's a bit of a problem. All right, but anyway, let's keep going. I'm still, by the way, as I'm continuing to read this, I'm still thinking like, well, this guy doesn't have any serious power in the Trump administration. He only has power. He's just appointed by Trump to this position as an advisor, right? So that means nothing. If nobody listens to him, it means absolutely nothing, right? So in the article could say that, and then that would change things. Okay, but in a subsequent interview, Mr. Boulos said that he had only meant to confirm that other news outlets had written incorrectly that he runs such a company. Okay, now there's maybe a little bit of a backtrack. In another call on Wednesday, he said he was referring to his father-in-law's companies. Okay, which he said were collectively worth more than $1 billion, though the company he runs is not. I've never really gone into any details like that about the value. Well, why not, right? Then I can say, well, why not go? If someone's asking you about it, you don't have to go into exact details like what your profit is, but you could be really clear. It's like, no, actually, I sell trucks and tractors or whatever. I don't know. He confirmed that he has no relationship with Boulos Enterprises. That's why he never corrected the record. He said he made a practice of not commenting on his business. Well, it's Boulos Enterprise businesses. Mr. Boulos has a history of small business ventures, corporate records in Nigeria tie him to a restaurant, some inactive construction companies, and to Tantra Beverages, sorry, a now defunct company that was set up to sell an erotic drink that gives men and women the ultimate stimulating push. Whoa, all right. Yo, damn, all right, there we go. I'd like to try some of that. Okay, here we go. Mr. Boulos said an associate runs the restaurant and that he did not recall the drink venture. Well, okay, I could imagine that. After this article was published, Mr. Boulos said he did recall Tantra and that it was part of an attempt to sell energy drinks that never got off the ground. It's actually a pretty smart idea, by the way. Any significant wealth, he said Tuesday, comes from the family of his wife. Okay. I mean, think about it, man. An energy drink that gives you like that little, like, gives men that a little extra push. All right. He confirmed that he was director of the Lagos Restaurant Noir. Okay. All right. That's cool. Looks like a nice restaurant. So his wife's the daughter of this Michael Zoer Foudou, citizen of France and Burkina Faso, who spent decades assembling a patchwork of logging, construction, and automobile distribution companies throughout West and Central Africa. The Times could find no indication, either in company documents or records from the corporate data provider, that Mr. Boulos has a direct stake in these businesses, other than the truck dealership. Okay. So now this is where I'd probably stop reading the article. If you want to know, I'd say, okay, I wouldn't say it's like a takedown. It's not an attempt to take down Trump, but it's an attempt to probably, just kind of make fun of him or whatever at some level. And I don't need that. You already made your point. I got it. So I wouldn't take the time to read any further. I don't need it. It doesn't change any opinion on Trump per se, because there are a lot of business people like this who obfuscate and pretend to be more than what they are. This guy just happens to be in the spotlight because Trump put him in this role. And if he hadn't put him in this role, then he wouldn't be in the spotlight. Nobody would really care and it wouldn't matter. But I'm sure people around him, if I had to guess, have probably called him out on some of this. Because, it's probably, it goes public, right? There are things that you can pretend to be or pretend to do, but, if you kind of keep it behind the scenes, it doesn't really matter. But once it goes public, you're going to have to deal with it, which is, of course, what happens when you step into the spotlight. The media are going to come look at you and look at the things you say, and they're going to look very carefully, which is one of the reasons that I don't want the Social 19 live stream to be any sort of more popular than it is, because I don't want people really coming after me. It's like, look, I'm doing my damnedest to be thoughtful and smart and careful, and like I don't want that. And so this guy kind of got caught up in it, right? And maybe he didn't even want to be in this position, and he kind of had to be. But now people are going to start questioning him about things. Okay, so now you got to step up, and any contradictions or half truths or whatever that he told in the past are going to come to light, just like contradictions and half truths that I've told in the past are going to come to light once people put a spotlight on me. And like, I don't want to deal with that, right? Okay. Anyway, both study and tech. Okay, we can skim through this pretty quickly, right? Because I've already said, yeah, I would stop reading. Okay, referred to Mr. Boulos as a lawyer. Has reported a graduate law degree at the University of Houston, but the school said it had no record of that. Okay, wait, hang on. Okay, now hang on. What? The school has no record of it? It said he graduated from a separate school, University of Houston downtown, with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree. Okay, all right. So the University of Houston downtown is probably an offset campus, a subcampus of the University of Houston. where probably people take night classes and that sort of thing. The couple had planned to a move to New York, where she said he had been offered a job at a law firm, but her father intervened, she said, and invited the young couple to work for his business holdings in Africa. Okay, but he doesn't have a law degree, apparently, right? So this is now it just starts to get shady. And now, okay, this is the point. If I'm reading this on my own, so I'm doing what's going on in my head is I'm reading this, I'm starting to get pissed, right? It's like, hang on a second. You can't just go around making stuff up, man. This is annoying. And like, for those of us who are really trying to be honest and do stuff, it's like, come on, man. So now I'm annoyed at him. So I'm going to keep reading a little bit just so I can get even more annoyed. The couple moved to Lagos, where he had they became known as trust fund kids. They were called the Golden Children. Mr. Fadul had the couple in charge of a truck and machinery dealership. Corporate finance show the company has not grown much over the years. Okay, well, that's probably not too surprising. Business was slow when a reporter visited this month. Heavy machines and trucks sat in the lot, branch. And then the Nigerian city closed 4 years ago because of lack of customers. Okay. She worked alongside the husband. Okay. She set up Society for the Performing Arts in Nigeria. Okay, that's kind of cool, right? She calls herself a visioneer. That's pretty cool. All right, I like that. All right, there we go. There's one of their dancers for the Visioneer group. All right. He posts videos of himself on social media. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Great. Tiffany's $1 million ring. Okay, great. Okay, now it's just kind of, now they're just like, okay, now the writer, to me, wait, go back. I want to show you something. The writer, to me, at this point, in case you're wondering, I think is starting to show their colors here, right? They're just going to go after Trump, and they're trying to make fun of stuff, and like, you don't need to do that. You already made your point that here's this guy that Trump's appointed. He doesn't have a whole lot of power, but Trump's appointed him anyway to a position that's not going to have much power, and they're blowing him up to be something more than he is. You've made that point very, very clear, right? Because I'm sure there's nothing in here that's a lie, right? So don't think you can't argue they're just making this stuff up, right? But now what's going on is now they're just having fun. Now they're really, in a way, going after Tiffany, right? So we can kind of go pretty fast. This is where I definitely would stop reading. I have no interest in just like beating her down. I feel bad for her, right? And then, yeah, now he's got a guy that's performing reggae music. All right, White House introduction. Yeah. Okay, all this. Yeah, you're just having fun with them. All right, keep going. Carried the state. Okay, yeah. What role Mr. Trump intends for Mr. Boulos is unclear. Yeah, but there's no role. Let's be clear, there's no role. And let's be pretty clear that the guy is not going to have anything to offer that's of much value at all to Trump. None whatsoever, okay? Because Trump is going to be taking some cues in the Middle East for sure from some people who has some idea what's going on, and this guy isn't one of those. It's pretty clear from what's being written here. He's not one of those people. And the position is private. He said it's an advisor position. Okay, well, I have advisors too, right? My next door neighbor is an advisor for me. He tells me what the best beers are that he finds. I mean, all right. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's the end. My students are all advisors for me, by the way, when they come up to the front of the room and they tell me different things about their country. Like when I had the 2 Indonesian women a couple weeks ago telling me about life in Indonesia for them. Well, they were my advisors, right? Like they're telling me something. So it's like, that's what Boulos is doing for Trump. So it's not really a big deal. I can see writing the article because it's kind of like, wait, hang on, man. Wait, who is this charlatan guy? Wait, is he a charlatan, or is like, what's going on here? So I can see that to be sort of but it sends a message to Trump to say, hey, we see you here, and we see that you're just throwing a bone to your daughter's father-in-law. That's fine, right? And you're doing it on the world stage, but we see you, we're watching you. So just be aware of that. And I think that's fair. These are global geopolitical relationships, and they matter. And the Middle East is not a place where you want people just stumbling around with random ideas. But of course, this guy won't. There's not a single thing that this guy will say that will have great value, any value whatsoever, any consequence to Trump's and United States policies in the Middle East, right? So in that sense, a very kind of short article would have been fine. We didn't need a whole long article. So that's how I would read that. Okay. Now, what it did, though, was get me to think about this guy and think about everything that I just said about how he's not going to have any serious influence on anything. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't worry me. And there's no reason I wouldn't send that article to anybody. I wouldn't pass it along. I don't need to, because it's now irrelevant news. I see who the guy is, so why would I ever send it to anybody? Just to say like, what would be my message? Trump's an idiot? Like that's not, what kind of message is that? That's a stupid message. Or he's lying to the American people. Well, come on, man. When Trump says the only people, he's only the best and the brightest people unlike the Biden administration, the best and every other administration, except his own, I suppose, but only the best and the brightest people are going to be part of his administration. Well, that's dumb. I listen to that and I'm like, okay, well, that's just silly, because what do you mean the best and the brightest? Like, what does that? If anyone said that, I would be like, okay, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or Biden or Bush or anybody, it's irrelevant. So this is hyperbole stuff. So in any case, that's where we're at with that. So, yeah. Well, definitely. Okay, so hang on. Now I'm going to take some people. So now people, I didn't get to see any questions, right? So I don't know, Jeff, if you've been. All right. Wouldn't it be nice if his advisor is more open-minded about Arabs? Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely, man. There's so much would be nice, but he's not. But this isn't. But he has other advisors, right? That he's not putting out there in that way. So this is just a father-in-law thing, a daughter's father-in-law thing. That's all. So yeah, I think we have to. I just don't even take it seriously, right? But he'll have other advisors who are very thoughtful. So this isn't his only one, so it doesn't. Well, hey, Jeff Dodson. If the guy's a hoax and he's a phony with questionable background and it's not important, what kind of journalism is this? And what's the point purpose? Okay, well, no, hang on. The journalism is important, and he's pointing it out that he's not. That he is a phony at some level. Like, come on. And the journalist is pointing that out, and he's letting us know. And what he's doing is he's letting the Trump people know, like, hey, we see this, we got you. So now we're all on the same page, and that's valuable journalism, to put somebody in their place like that. And it's unfortunate that it has to be this guy. This guy's just trying to live his life, man. He's like a trust fund guy via his wife. But whatever. He could have said no to the position too, and he didn't. So, but he probably didn't really understand he would receive the level of scrutiny that he did, right? And kind of the comeuppance and be unmasked and on the world stage in that way. There are a lot of people who sort of, maybe in Nigeria, who are like, yeah, that guy. But now he looks kind of foolish in a way. So that's unfortunate, right? But no, I think the journalism is good journalism. I mean, it's like, it is like in that sense, but you didn't have, the article could have just stopped halfway through. They made their point. But anyway, Dodson, yeah. What responsibility does the editor have for time? Well, I don't think that the article isn't tight. I think the article is tight. I think the article just went on. Once it turned down that pathway to talking about Tiffany's wedding and her $1 million ring and stuff, that's when I think you went off, because you know that Americans don't even, we don't like $1 million engagement rings for people, man. Whether trust fund kids, we're not, okay, on one end, for some people that's okay, right? But for other people, it's kind of like, wait, hang on, what is this? What is this? I mean, there is a sense of Americans that are just get annoyed by stuff like that. Like, who are you, man? Where's the fairness in that? Where's the, like you're just like a rich kid who gets something you didn't work for, you didn't do anything to get that, and here you are. Like, so I think that tends to be we tend to have a pretty strong critique of that. So, but in any case, I don't think it is a very tight article, and I think there probably aren't any facts that they get wrong. That's the thing about, I've done some New York Times stuff, articles, man, where I'm being interviewed and the fact checking. So I know the fact checking in this article is really intense. I just to provide certain facts that I didn't think were really even that important. I had to give so much to the New York Times reporter. I had to pass them on to give them names of other people who could verify the facts. Just so much stuff, man. And then they came back and they're like, hey, I'm not sure, this doesn't fully line up. Can you just check on it? And so I check on it. I'm like, no, it does line up here. Look at it this way. Like, oh, okay. And then in this one time, they came back a second time, or a third time, I mean. So I know that the facts in that article are probably quite tight and they're not wrong. And if they were wrong, then you would see corrections at the bottom, and I didn't see any corrections except that one in the article. Jeff, did you see any corrections at the very bottom of it? I didn't see anything. So, that's fair. All right. So hang on. What else do we have? I don't know if Trump would be able to do. Anybody? Are there any other particular questions? Okay, hang on. This country is built on our backs, and Nepo babies get all the rewards. Okay, building analyst. I wouldn't say they get all the rewards, but I would say that it's kind of interesting that, first off, Nepo babies is like the nature of life is the earliest forms of human power is based on tribalism and a leader leaders whose succession is based on bloodline. Okay, that's the vast majority of human history. Is succession is based on bloodline. So unless so like talk about Nepo, this is nepotism. This is it. This is human life. It's only been fairly recently that we've been able to step outside of that. So when we look at the modern age and the current age, think about how, we're really trying to build leadership based on merit. But really, again, let's be really clear, for the first time, mostly in history. So if we take some kind of basic, more advanced type civilization going back 7,500 years or so, it's all nepotism. It's all just the leader emerges and the progeny, the children of that leader become the next leaders, and the children of those leaders become the next ones and the next ones, and so on and so forth. So that's all nepotism. So, we're trying to get away from that as best we can. So yeah, monarchy, oligarchy, it's what it is, man. So, we're working it. We're seeing that we're trying to figure it out as best we can. So, all right, man. why in some countries single parent households controversial topics, but in other countries it's not. Yeah, I think it is controversial when it's more controversial when the single parent relies on other people outside of their family for support. Okay, so if you want to really ensure that you can take care of yourself and your kids and so on, then live in a family, an extended family household, right? So you have grandparents and aunts and uncles and parents, and there's a lot of people living together, right? Then you just have lots of opportunities to ensure that group of people survives. If you want to really increase your chances by 50% that you'll have resources flowing into your household, then be inside of a throuple, right? Have like a 3-person marriage, right? You got 3 possibilities of income coming in. If you have a kid, then you have 2 incomes coming in that you can have, and 1 person can stay home with the children, right? I mean, there you go. Like, you're not going to rely on the state. You're not going to rely on anybody for external resources. Like, none of us have to take care of other people, right? But when you have single parent households, that because of the nature of how society is organized, that single parent is almost certainly going to rely on assistance and help from people outside of the family, his or her family, because single parent households can be men also. Then people start to say, wait a minute, hang on, you made a choice to be in a single parent household, or maybe you didn't make a choice, but you ended up there. And so now what do I got to do? So I got to step in and take care of you. And I got to do that because the system that we're in has not organized itself to provide collectively resources to really ensure that you can take care of yourself, right? Or anyway, that's my answer to that. So that's where you've got. That's one answer. The other answer is just kind of this sense that, like I see that Lena said about Korea, single parent households controversial, but in France it isn't. It's not very controversial in the United States, except that except both in France and the United States, there are people saying, hey, why do we have to use tax dollars to respond to help take care of you, right? But we could organize society in a way that the people wouldn't need so much. Like, we could have public and funded daycare and organized people, but even then that's tax dollars. So yeah, that's part of the issue. So certainly in the US, there's a very strong sentiment that just take care of yourself, man. So, even though I don't know why we don't have that strong sentiment regarding like corporations and stuff, right? We often want to bail out these big corporations in ways. And I'm like, well, take care of yourself, man. If you can't survive in this cutthroat economic atmosphere, then you just go under. I think back to, 2016, or pardon me, 2007, 2008 with the banking crisis, and we all stepped in to bail out all the banks. And then the banks didn't even have to pay back all the money once they started making profits again. It's good that we bailed out the banks because the whole economic system could have collapsed. But we didn't have to bail out all of them, and we could have forced them to pay back all of the money with interest, and we didn't. So why is that somehow okay? But it's not okay to bail out the single mom or the single dad that needs a little help on the side. Anyway, that's a thing that I would throw out there, by the way. All right, so yeah, football, the real one. Okay, Stephen, are you worried that Trump, I assume, has appointed Musk with his track record of destroying Twitter? What could he do to government departments? Well, Musk hasn't fully destroyed Twitter yet. By the way, what he did, who calls it X, by the way, anyway, or whatever they try to call it. It's just Twitter, man. It's always going to be Twitter. It seems like he hasn't fully destroyed it. And I mean, I don't know. Like, it's still. I don't think that it hasn't reached a certain level of profitability. Twitter was never especially profitable. I don't think. I don't remember. I just listened to a piece on this not too long ago, but it seems like it's continues to move along at some level. But in any case, Musk. I don't know how the guy. They're going to go through they're going to go through our entire system, and they're gonna figure out where all of the government areas, agencies, and institutions, and so on that can have their budgets slashed because they're bloated, right? I don't know how they're going to do that. What, are they going to walk inside of every office everywhere? I mean, I get the intention, and I get how I could be at home just starting to be pissed about all sorts of things. Like, I just had an interaction with the government thing that was so annoying. It's like you do just with a person at the other end who just was absolutely unwilling to help in every way, shape, or form. And I just like, do your job, man. And I was so pissed. Clearly, you're not doing your job. We don't need you anymore. I'd love to just give you that. Well, I don't know what you do, though. Like, in my mind, like, we give you the axe because you're clearly unhelpful. But maybe they were unhelpful because they're doing a million other things that are helpful and valuable and necessary. So I don't know how these guys are going to do that, decide how they're going to make that happen. But, whatever. Maybe they're smarter than I am. Yeah. I'm not going to say. Totally different question. What should we do to up the birth rates in Europe? Have kids, man. Like, start manufacturing defective condoms. How about that? You could do birth control, right? You could do that. Well, you've already decided one route, which is to bring immigrants in. But now, starting Europeans are starting to see that maybe that's not the ideal route. Yeah, more beer. Yeah, he's got the answer. More beer. I don't know. You can't. Just like Korea can't. Just like Japan can't. Just all over the world, everywhere except kind of Central Africa, we're seeing birth rates declining. In many parts of the Middle East, but not all over the Middle East, we're seeing birth rates declining because human beings are just changing the way they're operating. We are moving toward very different social systems, and people are having different goals and thoughts and ideas about how they want to live their lives. Young people, and they don't, for the most part, across the board. That does not include having a lot of kids, and life becomes more interesting, more exciting. People everywhere in the world. I've been really paying attention to this because it's something that I'm asked to speak about a lot in Korea. So I'm reading the data on young people and how they fancy their lives. Fancy their lives. Oh my God, I actually said that. And across the board, everywhere in the world, man, they want to travel. They want to hold off getting married. They want to experience different things. They want to have many different relationships before they finally find their spouse. Doesn't mean have sex with lots of different people. They want to have many different relationships. This is across the board. This is the attitude across the board. They want to see things. They want to experience things. They want to the web, the internet. It's just offering people new possibilities. The travel industry is booming. It's going to boom even more. People just want to do the stuff. And so having kids, increasingly, having 2.1 children, it's just less and less an option for people. Maybe you have one child, but you have that child a little later. So that's the thing. So for James Anthony, my response is yes, too many people, not enough resources. So yeah, it's a good thing. For years, we've been saying we're overpopulating. We need to cut the birth rate. But the problem is that when you cut the birth rate really fast, you really too radically change the structure of society. So, Japan, Korea, Singapore is a little bit different but other nations, you just cannot, you have to have young people coming up through the social structure, man, through the system. And you can't just quickly and rapidly cut the number of new births because it's a problem, because people down below have to support the people up above. And it's that with all the social and economic activities that take place. Now, we're moving toward robotization, right? So we're increasingly moving toward robots and AI. And so we may be able to ensure that we are not harmed excessively by all of the negative consequences that come along with a radical drop in the birth rate. Think about this. You have retirement homes, right? So we have in the United States the elderly population over 65 and over, of which I will be. Well, okay, it's not 65 is not elderly, so I should just say 65 and over. It's growing tremendously. So who's going to take care of people, man? Who's going to be working to ensure that all of these people like myself who go toward retirement have their needs taken care of? Like you need people to do that, right? So in the U.S., it's going to be less of an issue for us because we have relied on immigration over the years, but we need that, and so that's the thing that we're working with. And by the way, I should argue that those of us who are really thinking that, okay, we need, starting in January, we're going to start sending all these undocumented or illegal people back home. Just let me remind you that almost all of these people are doing jobs. They're doing jobs, and they're working, and our unemployment rate isn't very high. And they're doing a lot of jobs that are really, really important to do. Like we don't have robots in our meat processing plants, butchering hogs and chickens and so on. Robots aren't doing that work. Eventually robots will, but they're not doing that work. And so, you got to be thinking there's so many different pieces in play. The people who, all that inexpensive chicken and pork that you buy at the store, because chicken really is very inexpensive. If you look at the price of chicken today versus what it was, 30 years ago, given the PPP, it is like purchasing power, and it's imperative. And chicken has remained pretty inexpensive. So imagine that when the plant closes down because there's like nobody there working. So anyway, that's a thought. Just a thing, and just bringing it out. I mean, it's so anyway, birth rates, right? Sam, what do you think is a fulfilling life? I'd love to hear your opinion. It's very subjective, depending on person answering. Oh my God, what yeah. Hang on, I will do that. AZ, I hear you. So you're willing to pay more for chicken to have a secure border. I hear you. That's fine, right? That's fine. But just understand that if you may be paying more for a lot of things. And I'm not making the argument to not secure the border. I was watching a video last night and going like, man, it was about the southern border, and just like, this is problematic, man. The Mexican cartels just driving people up to the border and just dropping them off, sending them over the border and be like, okay, call 911. They'll come take care of you, right? They got rid of all their passports, all their information. It's like nothing. They have nothing, right? Come to the border, come to the other side and call 911. Well, at some point, 911 is not showing up. And but eventually they got to show up. But 911 is talking to the sheriff and Border Patrol going like, hey, what are we going to show up for these guys for? Like, we shouldn't show up. We know what happened. The cartel, the Mexican cartel, dropped them off, said, walk over right here, just step foot on the other side and call 911. Well, that's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? After the cartel took all their money, and now we're going to have to do what? We got to send a car down. We got to process them. It's like, wait, why are we doing that? What's that about? No, go back. They happen to be 11 people from India. It's like, no, why don't you go back to the cartel, tell them you want your money back, and go back to India? How about that? You know? So people who flew to, I think they flew to Ecuador, and from Ecuador they flew up to Mexico City, and from Mexico City to Mexicali, and then on, right? So yeah. So anyway, AZ, I'm with you on that. I'm just saying there are some things that are, it's all going to be very complicated, right? Okay, man. Jeff, what was the fulfilling life? Man, I will know that, fulfilling life. For me, fulfilling life is trying to not push, to find a balance between making something happen that I can envision in my mind, whether it's, whatever it is, making something happen, and accepting the things that happen that I didn't envision, and whether they're good things or bad things. And to me, that's a fulfilling life. Finding that balance, really, between kind of being motivated, excited, and motivated to do something, Okay, beer, James Anthony. Fulfilling life is beer. Fulfilling, you know what? For me, I feel excited to be able to wake up in the morning and feel excited to do something. Maybe not excited, but feel like any desire to do something, right? As long as I can feel a little bit of desire, whether it's, to make my coffee and look forward to having my coffee, and then the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, right? Have reasonably meaningful work to do. And that doesn't mean this work, when I was painting houses, that was meaningful work for me. I really enjoyed it. And I get to the end and I see this beautiful room right here in my room. I painted this, and I get to the end and I look at it every day and I'm like, this is awesome. So anyway, that, and then at the same time, being willing, being capable of accepting when doors don't open that I think should open, or that I want to have open, or something. Accepting something that happens that takes me away from that vision that I have, that goal or that desire to do something. That's a fulfilling life, is that balance. That's probably pretty cool. Yeah. And in that sense, I'm pretty cool. Golf, it has become nice. Beer is nice for me, actually, but luckily I don't struggle with alcohol. I don't struggle to say no. I don't yearn for it. I can have a single beer and that's enough. It's rare that I want more than that. Well, I would just drink. If beer didn't have alcohol, I would just be drinking it all day long, man. If I had a really good non-alcoholic beer that tasted like the IPA that I drink almost every night, man. But luckily, I don't have a problem with alcohol. I'm really thankful about that. And from a really young age, as I watched some friends kind of turn into alcoholics, I said to myself, God, don't ever do that, because you love the taste of beer too much. Man, I love beer. Man. And so one is good. And I try to I set my life up so that just about every night I can have a beer. But when I can't have a beer for whatever reason, it's fine. I don't even think about it. So there's one, beer. Man, that's a fulfilling life. So, yeah. Ahmed, you might, wait, I think maybe you're Muslim. I don't know. But if so, and you kind of follow that route, because a lot of Christians do also, like they can't have beer. It's like, no, it's not Christian. You can't have alcohol because you're Muslim. It's like, well, that's a good reason to not. Beer's a good reason to not be Muslim then, in that case, right? In my humble opinion, but whatever. What are you going to do? Blue moons. For Julie, it's blue moon. It is beer. It's a specific beer, though. So, But I drink the Sierra Nevada Tornado IPA. Man, it is. I've tried probably 50 or 60 IPAs that I went through before I finally found this one that I just like. Was like, yeah, that's it, man. That's the one for me. The best possible. Oh, all right. I'm on. So you're good to go. Then you can have a beer. All right. I love it. try an IPA. Yeah, Trogs Mad Elf is okay. Yeah. But, Bo, how are you? Okay. Any other questions? By the way, I'm gonna maybe a silly question, but do sociologists study the impact of having and not having pets? People, yeah, somebody does. You could look up someone guaranteed has studied the impact of pets. Wait, like having kids but cheaper and more. Yeah, definitely somebody has studied that, and how having pets. People have. I remember reading something that someone did about pets as replacements to kids, or how often people have pets and then decide to or not to have children, and how having pets, especially dogs, because dogs are much more demanding, so they're more like kids. I mean, you have to really actively engage with the dog, right? The degree to which having the pet or the dog in particular impacted their decision to have kids or not have kids. So that was definitely that's a point of study. So yeah, for sure. And yeah, man, house cats decimating the wild bird population. Easy, I'm with you. That's a problem, man. That's a problem with our neighbors' cats. They have 2 cats and they hunt all the time. And I can't tell you the number of times that I had to rescue birds from the cats, and they would be better stalking. We would be on our deck, and they'd be stalking birds at our bird feeder. So I always had things to throw at the birds to scare them when they didn't see the cats. But usually they saw the cats, and it wasn't a problem. But there were numerous times when I had to rescue birds from the mouth of cats. Cats kill millions and millions of birds every year. Yeah. So many rules to follow in any religion. Life is shot, live free, and just enjoy. Yeah, exactly, man. Life is short. Just do it. Yeah. All right, man. So listen, we're at 17:42. We have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to be back on Thursday. I'm going to try to find another article to look at. Maybe someone would find something to kind of do what I did here, to read through it, kind of see. I don't know. I really want to be as transparent as possible, like how I think about things, what I'm trying to do, and how I try to be thoughtful and fair and critical, right? Yeah. Hey, Mikhail, thanks, man. You're welcome. Yeah, thanks to Jeff actually for holding the stream down and always pushing me to stream more. And I don't know. I don't think we'll do office hours tomorrow, but we will stream on Thursday for sure at 4:30. Although maybe we'll just start at 4 for the heck of it, And thanks to Julie for holding down the class all semester. Man, Jeff and Julie and Darnisha holding it all down, and Sydney behind the scenes, man. Yeah, it's really, really nice. It makes it a lot easier for me. Oh yeah, maybe we'll have a well, Jeff, you said oh, right, that's right. We might have a guest. Yeah, you're right. Pluck an essay from Sarah Smarsh's book, just like an article. Yes, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I don't Sarah Smarsh. I don't know. Maybe Eric, if you have something, you can fire it off to me. But maybe an essay, it's got to be a short thing, because it has to be really something that's short. I think something that's media-wise. Maybe I'll find something on Fox and look at it. Yeah, that would be good. I'll find something on Fox. Okay, y'all, listen. Why don't we just blow out? Thanks, and we'll be back on Thursday. All right. Yeah.